On this day in 2019, you all know the Washington Nationals, they won the World Series. So where is that team now, and what were we doing back then?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out. Make sure to search Locked On Nationals wherever you get your pods, and that is where you'll find us. And search on YouTube, Locked On Nationals, and hit that subscriber button. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And later on in today's show, Max Scherzer making the start in Game 3 of the World Series tonight. It's tied up 1-1. We all know when Max Scherzer was doubted just a little bit. He's being doubted tonight in Texas, so I think, or actually rather, in Arizona tonight. So, kind of revisit that a little bit, talk a little about Max Scherzer, the old friend here in Washington, D.C., and then also the back end of this bullpen. We're continuing the 2023 breakdown, and today we're going to focus in on Kyle Finnegan and Hunter Harvey. I truly do believe the Nationals may have struck gold in general when talking about those two cats. So we're going to talk about them a little bit later on, but let's reminisce real quick. 2019, 4 years ago today, October 30th, 2019, the Washington Nationals won the World Series. And looking back at that team, everyone kind of, at that moment in time, it didn't feel as if that was going to be the window closing for the Nationals. And at that moment in time, I think the bet, and the better bet would have been, is that that's the Nationals window kind of really just opened up wide open for them going above and beyond over the next few years. But we all know ever since that 2019 World Series, the Nationals have not had a winning season. 2020, they kind of crumbled a little bit. That was a shortened season. Who knows what would have happened if they played out 162. But 2021, that was when the fire sale initially started, trading away TreaTurner, trading away Max Scherzer, and all that stuff as well. And now, Juan Soto in 2022, we know what happened. We know, we get it. But still, let's look back on that team, because the 2019 Nationals, if you were, again, I think the main topic of talking about the 2019 Nats and really what they didn't do down the line is I don't think they took advantage of the window that they had. Now, again, I think if 2020 was a little bit different, meaning if the pandemic never happened, if the Lerner family never really lost the money that they did, if all those different things that did transpire right after winning the World Series never happened, I do think the Nationals would be in a different situation now. Would they be one of the worst teams in all of baseball in 2022? Probably not. Would they be one of the better teams in baseball in 2022? Probably not also, because here's the thing. That's not going to change what you do in free agency that year. That offseason, the Nationals, you have Anthony Rendon, who we know what's happening down in LA right now. He's not really doing all too much with them. He's been injured. Even then, when he hasn't been injured, he has not been living up to his 2019 and 2018 expectations back when he should have been an all-star with the Nationals those 2 seasons, but ultimately was not. Beyond all that, though, that Nationals team, it was a great run. That was a great team. If you look top to bottom at how much talent that they have, a top 10 prospect with Victor Robles, a top prospect, and at that point, a phenom with Juan Soto, a 20-year-old, making into the World Series, playing into it and playing a big role in that as well. You have those 2 core young guys in there. Then you have Anthony Rendon, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin. All those other guys that kind of fell into place for this Nationals team is what made that 2019 Nationals run so special. But if you look around baseball right now, amongst key members of that team, really the only ones that are making a difference is TreaTurner, which it wasn't all that great in the postseason for the Phillies this year. And then also Juan Soto, who is still Juan Soto. While he hasn't really put up those huge numbers like he did with the Nationals back in 2021 or 2020 or 2019, he's still going to be, and it still is, the best center in baseball, in my opinion. There's no better approach up there. There's really just a lot to like about Juan Soto still. There's nothing to be concerned about with what he hasn't done over the last few years here. But then after that, after you get by Juan Soto, Victor Robles, Anthony Rendon, the few core pitching guys that we had with Corbin, Scherzer, and Strasburg being in the top rotation there, Anibal Sanchez as well. That was a team that was mostly guided by veteran talent. Now, just like Anibal Sanchez, again, someone who is not all that most talented pitcher like a Steven Strasburg or a Max Scherzer, but someone who got the job done. If you remember that 2019, when we first got Anibal Sanchez, he really was not that good for the first month and a half, 2 months of that season. In fact, he was one of the worst pitchers in the NL East in that time frame as well, just from the base fact that we had expectations for Anibal Sanchez. We didn't expect him to be this stud who's going to be going out there throwing 7 innings each night, giving us a chance to win every night. But as a 4th, 5th starter in that rotation, when you have Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin coming at you every few days, you were expecting a handful of good starts just because of the simple fact that Anibal Sanchez has been in these situations before. Anibal Sanchez is one of those veteran leaders in that clubhouse. Looking beyond all that, the 2019 Nationals team was so special because of the veterans that they had in that clubhouse. When you consider Howie Kendrick and the leadership factor that he added to that Nationals team, right then and there, that was special. What Howie Kendrick did that year was not only one of his better really hitting careers or hitting years in his career, it was just a lot more than that. Coming up, Game 7 of the World Series, off Will Harris, the right field foul pole in Minute Maid Park. What a better moment in baseball. Is there a better sound in all of baseball than hitting that right field pole, just getting dinked by Howie Kendrick, the line drive home run coming off a cutter on the outside edge of the plate? There's not really better sounds in baseball at this moment in time if you're a Nationals fan. But what made that 19 run so special was, again, of the fact that not only did you beat the Houston Astros, but you beat the Houston Astros that were cheating and banging trash bangs and all that fun stuff. Like, you hear that every now and then, that means a fastball's coming. If you hear that's only a curveball, whatever it may be, whatever they were doing to do the cheating, the Nationals won all 4 games in Houston. Now, at that time, that was the only team in MLB history to win all 4 games on the road in the postseason, which again was topped by the Texas Rangers just this last week in the ALCS, doing that exact same thing to the Houston Astros, taking all 4 games in Houston, getting to the ALCS, winning the ALCS, and then ultimately, hopefully, winning the World Series in tonight's contest. But that Nationals team, man, where did the times go? Where did the times go with all those veterans? And even then, beyond the veterans, beyond all that stuff as well, this Nationals team was special. That 2019 Nationals run was probably one of the most impressive World Series runs, in my opinion. And am I biased? Of course I am. Of course. I've watched this team my entire life. I've been waiting for that moment my entire life. And now after that moment, I will continue to wait for that exact moment as well. But beyond that, the Nationals, the core of that team, again, it was the young guys. It was your Juan Soto and Victor Robles and TreaTurner and all those other guys as well, Anthony Rendon. But it was also kind of beyond that. Having Asdrubal Cabrera DFA'd by the Texas Rangers, having him picked up to be one of the Washington Nationals core guys down the line, and just, again, was someone who was just DFA'd by the Texas Rangers. The Nationals pick him up, and little behold, he's starting in the World Series as a second baseman, and he's making an impact as well. Because Asdrubal Cabrera, in my opinion, was one of the more slept-on figures of that 2019 Nationals run. Asdrubal Cabrera coming up big in multiple situations, playing solid defensive second base as well. And again, this is not someone that the Nationals moved a prospect off the board for. This is someone that they just signed in early on in August just to kind of have the depth guy. But as soon as he got here to Washington, D.C., as soon as he made his comeback after being with the Nationals in 2014, he took off. He took off on this team as well. So looking across the board, you have Howie Kendrick, Asdrubal Cabrera, Anibal Sanchez, Sean Doolittle, all these veteran guys who came in here, got traded from their respective spot or signed here in Washington, D.C., who made a difference in that run. The World Series, while yes, it is about all the young talent as well. You look at the Rangers and you look at the Diamondbacks right now, both those teams filled with young talent who have made big moves, who have signed big pitchers, who have made big trades, who have had prospects develop up in the major leagues. Yes, it is still all about that as well. But it's also about the surrounding cast. If you look around with the Diamondbacks tonight, you got Tommy Pham for them. If you look around the Texas Rangers, they have Corey Seager for them, someone who's been around and played the World Series, who has won a World Series and won a World Series MVP back in 2020. It's not just about the young talent. And while it's certainly important, it's never just about that, though. You have to have that surrounding cast to kind of fill your core, because the Nationals, that team in 2019, while again, they had the young talent, but we don't win those World Series without Asdrubal Cabrera, without Howie Kendrick, without Anibal Sanchez, without Daniel Hudson as well, a kind of a veteran journeyman in the bullpen for this Nationals team back in 2019. That is what made that run so special. They didn't just do it in one way with their young guys. They also did it back with the veteran guys as well, getting some help in there and a lot of different things like that. That is what will stand away from that 2019 Nationals team. And man, what a run that was for the Nats. Thank you guys for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can check us out over on YouTube at Locked On Nationals. Just make sure to search Locked On Nationals there. Hit that subscriber button. And of course, turn on your notifications for all your latest Nationals videos. And of course, wherever you get your pods, just search Locked On Nationals. And now, let's get into some 2023 breakdowns, as Kyle Finnegan and Hunter Harvey kind of having a breakout season for this Nationals team that we're going to get to after I tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. And guys, score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better way to get on the action. And the app is so easy to use. There's a wide variety of betting options, including, spreads, halftime props, maybe run lines, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. And now let's get back into it, as Kyle Finnegan and Hunter Harvey for this Nationals team. I truly do believe in this one thing with the Nationals this year. While I think the Nationals had a lot of different successes over 2023, whether it be C.J. Abrams or Josiah Gray, Mackenzie Gore, some of the young guys in the farm system doing well, Brady House, all the different names in there, I think two things are slept on. And really, it can just be jumbled into one thing here. I think the Nationals may have stumbled into gold here when it comes to the back end of their bullpen. And while when you look at Kyle Finnegan and Hunter Harvey, and if you look at the underlying numbers of them, it's not like wildly impressive. Like, you're not looking at Hunter Harvey and Kyle Finnegan and saying like, oh, this is going to be the next Daniel Hudson and Sean Doolittle of the Nationals team. No. Sean Doolittle and Daniel Hudson, speaking of the 2019 Nationals, those two guys were special in their own right. Sean Doolittle, one of the better relief pitchers in all of baseball over the last decade. And then Daniel Hudson in 2019 was just nails for this Nationals team down the entire second half for them and into the playoffs as well. But beyond all of that for this Nationals team in 2023 and beyond, in 2024, looking to next year, I think the Nationals have two things, really good things to work with, and that's Kyle Finnegan and Hunter Harvey. And now let's start off with Hunter Harvey first, because I think this is the most intriguing one. While you look at his stuff and kind of what he has done over the course of his big league career, being a first-round pick by the Baltimore Orioles, never really panning out, getting a lot of injury and a lot of injury history as well on that arm. Ultimately, never really worked out with the Orioles, got DFA'd, couldn't stay healthy, signed with the Nationals prior to 2022, and ever since then, well, he's been really damn good with the Nationals. Just last year in 38 appearances, he had a 2.52 ERA, 39.1 innings pitched, 45 strikeouts, and really only 12 walks as well, which wasn't that bad considering what he has done throughout his career. And then this year, kind of taking this next jump up, getting a much bigger workload, and ultimately doing a lot more with it, having a 2.82 ERA, 57 appearances, 60 and 2/3 innings pitched, and having 67 strikeouts and only 13 walks in those innings as well. Hunter Harvey proved, number one, he's probably the Nationals' best bullpen guy, best relief guy in general when you're talking about what this team can do moving forward. And again, I do like some young guys in the system. Jose Frere, someone that we saw a few innings from this year. You also saw Amos Willingham, another young guy who's got a bright future, someone that you will see over the next year or so. Zach Brixey, another guy who's really intriguing, who's got good stuff as well. Matt Cronin. There's a lot of different guys in this national system that you can point to and say, I like them as a bullpen guy. But we saw what they both did this year. And I think with Hunter Harvey kind of playing in this setup role, I think this is going to be the role where you will see him thrive. And I think with Hunter Harvey, and really what was so special about him this year was, number one, his consistency. You never really felt as if Hunter Harvey was going to blow a game. Now, while again, yes, there were a handful of those. He did have 5 losses on the season. But when you're getting thrown out there 60 plus times a year, you're going to blow some games. You're going to blow some leads. You're going to blow some big time losses. We know that. That's what you're signing up for a 162 game season. There's a reason baseball that you fail more than what you do in succeeding wise. You have to fail. And Hunter Harvey, he certainly did that at some points this year. But again, the numbers for him coming in games, wherever it may be, 57 appearances over the course of this season. That is something that we can work with, not only just here in DC, but something that Hunter Harvey may even be a trade chip down the line for this Nationals team. Because again, the numbers over the last 2 years, one of the more consistent National League East relievers in this division. That's really how good Hunter Harvey has been. Now let's kind of move on to Kyle Finnegan, because this is kind of something that I think may be a little unpopular, because Kyle Finnegan, similar in the category with Hunter Harvey in this facet, not all that great of numbers when you just look at it. A 3.76 ERA in 67 games, 69 and a third innings pitched, 66 hits given up, 63 strikeouts, and 24 walks. Now, the walks, yes, we can all agree there. The walks are going to have to cut down for Kyle Finnegan. It's not like Hunter Harvey and what he did this year, but again, it's something that we can work with. Kyle Finnegan was signed after the 2019 season out of the minor leagues by the Oakland Athletics. This was someone who kind of came out of nowhere, signed to a major league deal, and kind of everyone was like, who's this guy? Everyone was kind of questioning Mike Rizzo and just saying, what are we doing with this? How big of a deal is Kyle Finnegan going to be playing in our bullpen? Well, in 2020, that was probably his best stretch of baseball, if we're being honest. 27 strikeouts and 24 and 2/3 innings pitched. But really, ever since then, Kyle Finnegan has been the workhorse of this bullpen, whether it be eating innings from 7th through the 8th inning or being a closer like he was just last year and even in 2022 as well when he first got into that stretch. There's a lot of different roles that Kyle Finnegan has kind of played here as a National. And I think going forward, I'm still willing to bet on him as a closer, because there's one stretch this season, and it's not just a small little stretch. It's not just a few week sample size. Kyle Finnegan throughout the summer was one of the better Nationals relievers, and probably, if not the best Nationals reliever. And then even beyond that, one of the better ones in the National League East. Looking at his numbers from the beginning of May 2nd, all the way through August 29th, excluding 2 months of the season with April and as well as September, 2 of his worst months this year, Kyle Finnegan had a 2.03 ERA. Batters were only batting 226 against them. They had a 339 slug and a 281 OBP as well in that time frame. 48 and 2/3 innings pitched, only 11 earned runs, 48 strikeouts, 5 home runs, which is a little bit of a lot, but we can hang with it there. Kyle Finnegan, while again, he does have those frustrating losses just like everyone else does. We've seen it with him. We've seen him kind of blow games before. We've seen him go through the struggles and all the different things that comes from being a major league closer or reliever and all that sense. But you're telling me that with those numbers from really the big core of the season, and yes, while he started slow, giving up like 8 earned runs in his first 3 appearances this year, if you take those games out of it and look at the bigger picture, Kyle Finnegan was still one of the Nationals' better players in general. And yes, while he may not have the impact of a CJ Abrams or a Lane Thomas or name that guy, he still was very consistent throughout the 2023 season. If you were sitting here today betting on Kyle Finnegan or Hunter Harvey kind of being the closer for this team down the line, or hell, even throwing Tanner Rady into this equation as well, which one are you putting your confidence in? I'm putting my confidence in Kyle Finnegan, who over a large sample size showed that he can be in that closing role and that he can be one of the better closers maybe in the NL East and maybe turn into one of the better closers in the National League someday. He's got the stuff. He can throw 99. He can do all the stuff that you really want a closer to do. He's got that slow heartbeat. You don't see him panic out there. You don't really see him get under stress at all. And when he is locked in, don't make a mistake about it. Kyle Finnegan is still a good relief pitcher. And in my opinion, one of the most slept on figures of that really over the last few years talking about this Nationals team. I like Kyle Finnegan. I like the potential that he has. And I think we also have to consider, while yes, he may be in his 30s, he may not be that young buck that you want. He's still been one of the more consistent players and consistent arms of this Nationals bullpen for quite some time now, dating all the way back to 2020 when we won the World Series just the year before that. So speaking of World Series and winning that, you know who had a key role in that? Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer got rocked around a little bit this postseason after having been shut down with tricep soreness, whatever that injury was, making the return. No one expected him to make this return, but he is tonight. Let's talk about Game 3 of the World Series tonight. But before we do that, we'll talk to you after this. And thank you guys for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, catch us over on Locked On Nationals. Just search Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, including on YouTube, and make sure to hit that subscriber button wherever you see it. So Max Scherzer, familiar territory tonight where his back is against the wall. It's tied 1-1 heading into Arizona, and people are doubting this man. And again, let's just say it. Max Scherzer has lost it just a little bit. Yes, he has. He's old. He's human just like everyone else. We understand that aspect of it. But beyond that, are you really going to be the one to doubt Max Scherzer in a 1-1 situation on the road when everyone is betting against him? If you look at the public money over on FanDuel or whatever that is, whatever you want to look at, I guarantee you, whichever site, whichever that may be, you look at that site, you will see all the public money on those Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, why is that? Number one, it's because of Max Scherzer. I guarantee you all of America right now, outside of Washington, D.C., and outside of the state of Texas, minus Houston, they are all betting against the Texas Rangers, and it's because of Max Scherzer. Now, why would they? Here's my thing. When you have a legend, I don't care how old he is. I don't care how old Max Scherzer is. When you have a legend of that status, like a Max Scherzer, one of the all-timers of the last generation, of this generation of baseball, one of the better pitchers of all time, I don't care what age you are at. I don't care if he's 55 years old and only throws 80 miles per hour. I'm not betting against Max Scherzer. So the matter of the fact is this. Some Nationals fans, I'm sure we got some old timers in here who did watch the Harrisburg Senators. I'm sure we've gotten a few of those as well, who are the Washington Senators way back in the day. Some people don't like the Texas Rangers here, and that's fine. That's cool. That is your choice, you could say. But if you're betting on FanDuel tonight and you're going against Max Scherzer, betting against him and what he has done over the course of 2019, all the way dating back to 2015 with the Nationals, 2016, all the good memories with us. Don't bet against that guy. I'm telling you right now, do not bet against Max Scherzer. Thank you guys for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can check us out whenever and wherever, 5 days a week on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. So enjoy the World Series tonight. And of course, tomorrow's show will be coming at you fast with more 2023 breakdowns. And then we'll be moving on to the offseason just in no time. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Go Max Scherzer.